Today I'm north of Peterhead and the plan is to go up the coastline to the pirates' graveyard. It's hidden away in the sand dunes about 3 miles up the coast. Now it's going to have to be a stealthy one because there are some footpaths all the way around that area, are very popular with dog walkers, and also it's overlooked by a farm, and to make matters worse it's also become quite popular with camper vans, so I'm going to have to keep a pretty low profile if I'm going to camp there. So I shall turn around and get going. This is what's known locally as the Pirates' Graveyard. Now, as far as I'm aware, there are no pirates actually buried here, and I think the place got its name from all the gravestones with skull and crossbones on them. They're nothing to do with pirates, they're all to do with a fashion of the 17th and the 18th century called memento mori, which was all about death and, mortality. Now, this site had a medieval church on it, and the remains are there behind me. And in 1616, the local village decided to relocate the church to the village because as the dunes were approaching, they were worried that the church would get overrun by sand like the church in Forvey did. So it was knocked down and relocated through there. But the graveyard was kept as an active graveyard, and in fact it's still an active graveyard now. Now, although there are no pirates involved in this graveyard, it has got a grisly past. In the late 18th century, this is one of the rural graveyards that got targeted by the grave robbers. So what I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit more about the history of this graveyard and the grave robbers that came here. In the late 1700s, there was a sudden increase by doctors in the study of anatomy, and to fulfill this, the universities in Glasgow, Edinburgh and Aberdeen opened schools of anatomy. The government allocated these schools bodies of executed criminals for their dissection. Now, very quickly, as the interest grew, the numbers of bodies supplied by the government was not enough. And what happened was there was a demand that wasn't being met, and grisly chaps called resurrection men filled the need. They would sneak into graveyards in the dead of night and dig up freshly buried corpses and take them to the nearest anatomy school and sell them for a hefty price. Now, this obviously didn't go down very well with local people, and they kind of came up with some ideas to try and combat this grisly trade. Now, initially they started putting big stones on top of the coffins, and these are called mort stones, and the idea was to stop somebody digging down and breaking open the coffin. But now the resurrection men, they worked this one out pretty quick, and they worked out that all they got to do, dig to the head end of the coffin, break the coffin open and pull the corpse out. So this moved on, and the invention of a thing called the mort safe appeared. And the mort safe was a metal cage, sometimes with a stone on top as well, that was placed over the top of the coffin and then filled in. And after the body had been underground for a couple of weeks and started to decompose, the grave was dug up again, the cage was taken out and put on a different coffin. And that was the idea. Well, if the gravemen could dig out the cage, then so could the resurrection men, and they learnt very quickly. They just dug up the mort safe, pulled it out, and they could get at the bodies. So things kept moving on. Now, there were numerous different things. There was a metal collar that was put round the neck of the newly deceased inside the coffin, but well, not all anatomists wanted a body with a head on, so yeah, it didn't stop everything. But eventually this arms race peaked at two things. It peaked at the watch house and the mort house. And the mort houses were big, strong buildings that were built in graveyards where coffins would be stored for a couple of weeks until the bodies had started to putrefy. And once that had happened, their bodies were no use to the anatomists. And when that was at that stage, the coffins would be taken out of the mort house and buried in the graveyard normally. Now, some graveyards didn't have a mort house, they would have a watch house. And this graveyard has got a watch house. I believe it was also used as a mort house at times. And the idea of the watch house was if there was numerous burials going on, there would be a paid guard that would sleep or stay on guard in the graveyard for a couple of weeks until the bodies were no use to the anatomists. Now, this grisly trade caused a lot of concern for people, and they lobbied their MPs and they put a lot of pressure on the MPs, and eventually in 1850 the Anatomy Act was passed, the Anatomy Bill was passed, which kind of brought to end the resurrection men's work. The Anatomy Bill stated that all anatomists had to be registered with the government, and all anatomists could buy corpses from next of kins. They could also purchase corpses that had been unclaimed in workhouses and prisons, and they could also buy the corpses of criminals. So suddenly there were plenty of cadavers for the anatomists to do their work and study on, and there was no need for the illegal trade anymore. I hope you found that interesting. It's a bit of a weird one. We definitely know that this graveyard got targeted by grave robbers for the anatomy school in Aberdeen, which is 40 odd miles that way. And what is behind me, I'll grab the camera, what is actually behind me is the mort house. Now this on the historic register is recorded as a mort safe, or a mort house and a watch house, and it probably has been used as both. So as you can see there is a window flap that lifts up that you can view the whole graveyard from. Put that there. So my plan is to bivvy just over there behind that wall. It should be sheltered, and I think it'll make for a nice camp. So I'm going to go and set up now. Well, I found a spot, and it is that corner by the watch house. There we go. It's not ideal. The wind is hitting me square on. I'd be far better on the other side of the graveyard, behind the wall over there, but unfortunately there are cars already parked up over there. There are people walking their dogs over there, and there's a distinct chance I'd get spotted. Well, there's no distinct chance, I would get spotted over there, there's no doubt about it. It looks like a really well used dog walking area now. It looks like the farmer has kind of rebuilt the tracks. I notice a lot of the farmers around here are doing it. I suspect there's a grant for it. There's a lot of money being spent on the tracks, and that one over the back is really wide and has been well used. So I reckon there might even be early morning dog walkers there as well. So I'm going to have to watch what I'm doing. At the end of this wall here, just down the bottom of there, is a car park, and I've seen camper vans parked in there before, and there's often people visiting this graveyard. Tomorrow is Sunday, so obviously I can't hang around in the morning in case I get people visiting the graveyard. They'd probably be a little bit pissed with me camping here. So all in all, I'm going to have to follow the rules of stealth and be away with a light, but I think I should be alright here. If I build a bivvy against this wall, I reckon I'll be alright. If it gets too windy in the night, I can always go the other side of this wall, which would mean I was lying on top of graves, but you know, needs must. If it gets bad in the night, I'll go over there. But for now, I think I'm going to be here. I've got a brew on. I'm using my alcohol stove tonight, just purely because it's quiet. Yeah, it takes 3 times as long to boil water, but at least it's quiet, because I could sit here and, other than blethering to the camera, I'm pretty silent, and people could be round the other corner. And because of the new track, the path used to walk through here, there's actually a stile just there over the fence, and this used to be the way you got into the sand dunes. But now they've built that new track, I doubt it's, well, I would have thought it's quite unlikely anybody would be walking around here. You can't even walk over the fence. There's like steps into the graveyard there, and they've been kind of blocked off, so you can't even walk over there. So I can't think of any reason why anybody would be walking down here. So I should be all right. But I've just got to kind of keep my wits about me and keep my ears open, because there's a farm just over there, and this is his land. And again, I don't know how he feels about me wild camping, and I'm not really gonna, go knock on his door and ask him. So as long as he doesn't know I'm here, I think all's good. So I shall just chill out. It's about 8 o'clock now. It is actually getting a bit cold. It's forecast to be about 12 degrees, but it certainly doesn't feel like 12 degrees, and it's gone a bit dark, and I'm hoping it's not going to rain, because the forecast is for a dry night, and I'm not really prepared for a heavy wet night. So yeah, fingers crossed. Anyway, I am going to get a brew, and when it's either time to put my shelter up or time to get some food, I'll switch the camera back on, or if anybody comes along. So until then, I'll see you in a bit. I'll put this up to my mouth because I'm going to have to whisper. There's somebody in the graveyard. I was just starting to set up my tarp. It's, 10, 8:15. Didn't expect to hear anybody or see anybody come into the graveyard, and yeah, they've popped just round the corner in front of the gate to the graveyard. I can't actually see them in the graveyard, but I can hear them. So I'm just going to have to keep my head down and hope that I'm not busted. My tarp's just laying on the floor there. I just pulled it down. So fingers crossed they'll just do whatever they're doing and go home. But if I'm busted, I'm busted, and I'll have to go. But hopefully they'll just do whatever they're doing and then go away, and I should be all right. So I'm just going to sit it out, and I'll come back to you when that's done. Well, it's been about 40 minutes, and the car's just left. I have no idea what they were doing. Couldn't see them. I did peer over the wall, and I couldn't see them in the graveyard, but maybe they were walking their dog. It seems a long way to drive to just walk for like half an hour, 40 minutes, but maybe that's it. I don't know. But they've gone anyway. As you can see, well, you can't see. I took the shelter down. It wasn't up. I was in the process of putting it up when I heard the car door slam. So I'm going to have another go. The clouds are definitely dropping, and I'm pretty certain I'm going to get some rain. It's not just the it is a bit hairy at the moment, but it feels damp. Yeah, it's suddenly starting to feel a bit damp, so I think I'm going to get some weather. So I have definitely got to get this up. So I'm going to do a plough point here, throw a line over the wall. Like a genius, I've just bought 3 pegs with me, and I could still need one to tie off on the other side, so I'm going to need to come up with something, because there's not a lot in the way of sticks around here, but we'll see what I can do. And I think rather than doing a time lapse, I think I'm just going to get it done, and I'll bring you back when I've got the shelter up. So that's what I'll do. Okay, it's the shelter set up. I reckon I've got, 40 minutes worth of light left. It's really hard to tell this time of year, because we do get nights where the sun barely goes down, and we are approaching it. It's the end of May. I think midsummer's like 25th of June, is it? Something like that. So we're only a month away from having almost no night at all up here. But I think 40 minutes to an hour. But anyway, let me just turn this round and I'll show you what we've got. So there we go. It's a kind of plough point, but I've lifted the end up. It's a 2x2 tarp, it's too small. It's my kind of bike cover, but I just threw it in. I don't know why I threw it in. I've got quite a selection of tarps, and for some reason I picked the smallest one I've got. It has started to tear at both ends, so I've had to lash it with line. All in all, it's a clusterfuck, but nevertheless, that will keep the rain off my head. I'm in a bivvy bag anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's just this will keep my head covered and should keep some of the wind off me, because I'm pretty certain it's going to rain. But nevertheless, I think it's about time I got some grub on, so I'm going to get the stove set up again and get some water on and get some noodles. So I'll get back to you once my noodles are ready. Once my noodles ready, so I'll just tear the lid off so I can show you what they are. Oh, hang on. So, let's put my fork out of the way. Tonight's noodles are Mr. Noodle chicken kimchi noodles. Now, these are probably the most common Korean style noodles you're going to find. They sell them at Costco, and just about every corner shop up here sells them. They're cheap and cheerful. How authentic? Yeah, I don't think they are, but they're all right. They're very spicy, and I've augmented tonight's with a couple of pepper armies, because this was a last minute thing. I didn't have a lot of time to plan it, so I just grabbed what I'd got. So, Mr. Noodles, chicken kimchi noodles. And I know this is going to be good, because I have these for work. This is my dinner that I have when I'm at work. So, I know I'm going to enjoy it. And I'll come back to you when I'm done, because, as I've said so many times, you really don't want to see me slurping those things down. Apart from the one guy that does, and no, let's not go there. So I'll see you when they've gone. Well, that's the noodles done, and I have to say, they are very nice. I should know that. I mean, I eat these a lot. I think that these Mr. Noodle kimchi bowls are £1 a pop, and I think that is an absolute bargain. Yeah, they're not as fat a noodle as some of the more expensive ones, like the Shin noodles, but I think they're very good. The soup base is good and spicy, and I like that. And they even come with a little sachet of dried veggies. So even on their own, I think these are a really nice meal. I think when you stick some extra protein in, some pepperami or some spam, I think it makes a real belly filler. You know, I think they're good, decent sized bowl. And all in all, I think they're a winner. So I highly recommend them. That's Mr. Noodle kimchi chicken noodles, and you can get these in Costco, and I've found them in a few other corner shops as well, so well worth it. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a brew on, and I'm going to sit and take in the evening. The rain clouds have been blown inland. They've moved and they've missed me, I think, hopefully, and I'm getting blue sky now. And what I'll do, I'll turn the camera around and let you see. So what I've got to my left is sand dunes, and then I've got like a meadow. This is quite deep, long grass in front of me, and there's tons and tons of ground nesting birds in it, and I should imagine there'll be deer, because there's definitely deer in the woodland in front of me. And then I've got sheep over to the right of me, so I think I'm in for a bit of a nature fest. I'll turn the camera back. So I think I'm in for a bit of a nature fest tonight. I should imagine there'll be foxes round here, because ground nesting birds normally means foxes as well. So yeah, I think all the sounds of nature will be around me. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm just going to chill out now, get a coffee, and watch the sun go down, which I think will be pretty soon. And it'll go down over there, because east is that way. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll come back to you when the sun's gone down, I think. That's the plan. So that's just after 10:30, and it's just starting to get dark now. It's a nice still night. I've decided to adjust my shelter. I've lifted one of the sides up because I was getting a bit of condensation underneath it. God knows why, because I would have thought I'd got enough ventilation, but anyway, I'll spin it round. I'll let you see what I've got, and I've laid out my bedding now. So my bivvy bag's in, my sleeping bag's in, and I'm gonna get in a minute and listen to my book, and then get to my bed. But I'll spin it round and show you what I've done. I think that's going to work. It's probably the least prepared I've ever been. I've had to tie together bits of string in order to do it, but hey, needs must, and it's worked. So I think I'm going to get into my bag and listen to my book, and I'll say ta-ra, or tonight, good night even, when I'm going to hit the hay. So I'll see you in a bit. Well, that's it. Pitch black now. It's midnight, and I've listened to my book for a bit, and I've chilled out, and I think it's time for bed. So I'm going to get my head down. I'm not sure about this sleeping on a slope. I have a feeling I'm just going to slip down the hill and end up in a ball at the bottom by the fence, but we'll give it a try. I haven't got a lot of choice, because I think if I laid horizontally I would just roll over in the night and roll to the bottom of the slope. So at least this way I can kind of lie across the slope. We'll see. It's a theory to be tested. I'll find out in the morning. So I'll see you in the morning. Well, good morning. It's 6 o'clock and the sun has been up for about 3 hours. I think it's about time I got up out my pit and got a brew on. It was dry overnight, actually quite a comfy night once I stopped sliding down the hill, because I have slid a bit. Once I found the sweet spot, should we say, I was comfy enough, and I think I had a decent night's sleep. It's a bit misty at the moment, and I think that should burn off. I think priority now is get up, strike camp, get a brew, get something to eat, and then I'm going to head off. So I'll speak to you when I'm packed up. There we are, ready to roll. As ever, leave no trace. Picked up some litter, picked up other people's litter as usual, and there's a bin around the front, so I'll be leaving it all in the bin, and then it's time to plod on home. It's pretty foggy and a bit damp this morning, so I'm going to walk along the sand dunes over there, following the coastline back home, and I'll see you when I get home, and I'll do a wash up on the camp. So I'll see you then. Well, that's me back home, and not a moment too soon. It has just started raining, so I think I was incredibly jammy when it came to the weather, because I was absolutely certain it was going to pour with rain at about 9 o'clock last night, but it didn't. It was a rain-free night, and all in all, I had not a bad night's sleep, considering I was sliding down the slope most of the night. I think in hindsight I'd have been better off lying horizontally in line with the wall, and just taking the chance that if I rolled over I'd roll down the bank. So yeah, lesson learned there. The place itself is just a brilliant spot. It's full of atmosphere, and I love the history of it. And the walk up the beach along the sand dunes and along the beach is just a great walk. I love it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a thumbs up and a comment. And if you're not already subscribed, consider clicking the subscribe button. I like to post videos every couple of weeks if I can, and I throw the occasional short in every now and again. Well, all that being said, I think it's time for me to say ta-ra. So until the next one, I'll say ta-ra. Ta-ra.